Hey, everybody. Welcome to One Question With. And tonight, my guest is Erin Boardman Wathen. And she is out at the Deepak Chopra Center out in California, right?
Yeah,
Is it in California?
it is Carlsbad.
Okay. And she is joining me today. And we've got a great topic tonight, a topic that's near and dear to my heart. And I'm sure it is to Erin as well. And I'm sure for many of you, this is an issue that we all live with. And Erin wrote one of the best titled books I have ever heard the title of, even beats out some of mine. And the title of her book is Why Can't I Stick to My Diet? And that is just like, there is no more time in the year that happens to us more than during Christmas, the Christmas holidays, the holiday season, whether it's Christmas or solstice or Hanukkah or whatever the holiday is for you. It's just all our favorite foods are out, all our favorite people are there, and it's so easy to just plain do damage to yourself and all of your plans and all of your work towards getting healthy. And for those of you who know me, there are some things about losing weight that are wonderful and great for menopause, but more important is that you gotta eat in a way that supports your health. So Erin, how is it that we can stick with the diet that we want to eat even when everything around us is saying, eat me, eat me, eat me?
Well, first of all, stop eating food that talks to you, I say would be the first thing you want to do. The way that I look at it and the way I recommend to my clients is let's just take a huge step back and look at our calendar. And so the month of December, no matter what you celebrate, how many actual celebratory meals are there? I don't know. I mean, depends on, just for me, I'm Christian. So Christmas Eve, let's say Christmas dinner, that's 2. That means there's 31 days. Let's say New Year's, that's 3 meals. That means
I get my birthday.
Okay. Okay. But I'm saying for the average person, if there's, let's say 3 meals out of 93 that are special, that's a lot of meals you have to eat properly, to eat towards our health, to eat towards the hormone balance that I know we're trying to achieve. So I know there's a lot of noise this time of year, and not just the dancing Starbucks gingerbread cookies that are so cute with the scarves, but, we have the stress, we have the pressure, we have the expectations. Then we have, the layers of who's doing the decorating. Is it me or is it my husband? Honestly. So there's a lot going on. And so it's really easy to go to what has worked in the past, which was food, when it doesn't really ever do anything to help. The tree doesn't get decorated. The cards don't get sent out. The Hanukkah stuff doesn't get done. It's just, we ate a cookie. That's all that really gets accomplished. So if we can take a step back, not when we're in a crisis, not when we've eaten an entire box of, fudge or whatever, and realize it's just a couple of meals. We do not have to buy into the hype that everyone gains weight. And yeah, maybe you go to a couple extra cocktail parties this month. That's okay. But you do not have to throw out all of your good intentions just because you're at someone's cocktail party. There's always cocktail parties. Yeah, maybe the decorations are different, and even if those are your most special food, this is also something I think of a lot of times. Even if you have everything in front of you that's the most special, your level of hunger is not going to be the same when you get to every single thing. It can't be. It's impossible. So even of your most favorite dishes, there's going to be the number one, and that whatever you go to first, that's what will taste the best, and so on and so forth. So let's just make some decisions when we're not in the heat of the moment. And also, if we're not super stressed out and feeling frantic, we'll make better decisions, and not just for our waistline, but also for our pocketbook. Like, have you ever gone shopping when you're frantic and you just buy everything? Or even worse, have you ever gone shopping when you had a bunch of cocktails? I mean, forget about it. So if we're mindful in general, it'll take a lot of the pressure off this time of year. And it will not undermine our efforts for the other 11 months, because we still want to be healthy and to be at our best. And think about how you want to feel January 2nd. That's what I always like to tell myself is, how do I want to feel when I wake up tomorrow or on January 2nd? Do I want to have another 5 pounds? And also, quite frankly, maybe losing weight in December isn't a realistic goal for you. I don't know. I mean, you got to decide that on yourself, because maybe dieting or trying to lose weight in December is just too much pressure. So maybe our goal is to maintain. And that's a totally good goal. It's completely and valid goal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Right. Trying to lose weight in December is really, really tough. And I know for me, there's down here living in Louisiana, we've got Mardi Gras. So I've got a big ball coming up at the end of January, and I'd really love to be feeling good for that and feeling like I was going into that particular event. That's actually a bigger event for me than any single Christmas event, because we live in a fairly small family situation. So it's not like the big holidays that I had when I was a kid or when my son was growing up. But I agree with you that often we put pressure on ourselves to lose weight just because we step on the scale and we see a number we don't like, or we go to put something on that we wore last year and it doesn't fit, or whatever it is, and it triggers us, and then we get mad and we say, well, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this month, which isn't a realistic goal in the best of times. And then we wind up at a party, and all we do is beat ourselves up over that. And then it creates more stress, and that creates more problems for our weight and for our health. And Erin, I know that in your book, you talk about sugar as being your kryptonite.
Yes.
And I will admit that for those of you who know, I work with a publisher who asks us to read a whole lot of books. And I got about halfway through Erin's and said, oh, I got to read somebody else's right now. I haven't gotten back to it. But tell us a little bit about getting sugar out of your life, because sugar is such a problem food for so many people, not just because it's so addictive, but because it's got a lot of implications for our hormonal balance and all. So tell us, what's one way that we can start dealing with that kryptonite, putting that kryptonite in the lead box, as it were?
For me, the quickest way to put it in the lead box, I love that analogy, is just eliminate as much packages and boxes and wrappers as possible, because there's so much stuff in our food we don't even know about that undermines our best efforts. There's so much hidden sugar, and they're so tricky and sneaky with the names they call it. You know, things that you're like, oh, well, rice syrup, rice is good. Actually, that's sugar. You know, they have like 50 different names for sugar. And so, but an apple is an apple is an apple. So, you know, and I don't want to take fruit away from anybody, and I don't take fruit away from myself, but the less packages you have, the less things that come from the inside of the grocery store, I like to call it, the less likelihood you're going to have any suspicious things coming into your body. Because the problem with sugar is the more we eat, the more we want to eat. It all happens in our brain. And so if you ever notice, like when you eat a bunch of sugar, like Halloween, for instance, if you decide you're going to have a bunch of sugar, you just have some of your kids' candy, right? Because everybody sneaks their kids' candy, even though they don't like to admit it. The next day, you're like, where's the kids' candy? It's really hard to get that out of your system. And even if we have the world's best intentions, there is some sort of voice in our mind or in our stomachs or somewhere saying they won't notice if we eat some of their candy when they're at school. That's the sugar talking. It wants more. So the less we feed it by really honing in on eating real food, like food that's from the produce section or the meat section, or food that we can recognize as food, the less likelihood there is of anything sneaking past us. So I think that's like the first place I had to start. And another thing that goes hand in hand with that is artificial sweetener. Because when I was growing up back in the 90s, I drank Diet Coke by like the huge water tower size, like gallons and gallons and gallons of Diet Coke, because that's what they told us was okay, because soda was horrible, Diet Coke was great, aspartame was cool, have some gummy bears. That's what we were. Meanwhile, the obesity rates between like the 90s and the millennium, I mean, it skyrocketed. And I remember when I was in college, I was always starving. And I look back, it's because all I was eating was sugar. And that's because I was drinking Diet Coke all the time. And Diet Coke, for those of you that don't know, has artificial sweetener in it. Artificial sweetener, the reason it works short term is it tells our body, oh, something sweet just happened. So part of us is like, oh, great, we just had a little boost of sweet. That's cool. But then something else kicks in. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We didn't really get something sweet. Where's the sweet? Where's the real sweetener? Where's the real sugar coming? And that part of our brain is very aggressive. And it ends up that people that have a lot of artificial sweetener in their diet, typically at the end of the day, have way more sugar than they would have if they had just had the real stuff earlier. That kills me, but it's so true. And I know it to be true for myself. So as far as what people can do to kind of just pull everything in from the holidays, less labels and especially less artificial sweetener. Because if you think you're doing the right thing by adding stevia to your latte at Starbucks, this is probably going to sound crazy. Maybe add a little bit of real sugar, because at least your body knows what to do with it and it'll be over with. While the
I agree with you.
Will just mess with your mind the rest of the day. Way more than that little boost of real sugar.
And I think I want to say one more thing to that, and that is, if you find yourself at a holiday party or a holiday event and that favorite treat is there, it's going to mess with your mind, just like that little bit of sugar, that artificial sweetener is. So go ahead, take the thing that is most tempting and have a little bit of it.
Sure.
You know, it's especially like the whole butter cookies and all of those, they all sound so terrible. But if you have one, it just isn't that big a deal. Sit down, savor it, enjoy it, and then walk away.
Yeah, I agree.
Find something else to do.
And I think too, especially like what I always like to say is like, if that's your most favorite thing or it's the most tempting, have it at its best. Don't have it when you're cleaning up the dishes, you know, or have it on the fly, you know, or when you're working and someone takes like half a cookie and you're like, who is that person? And don't be that person, but have it when you can pay attention and really notice it. And you might be satisfied with half of the butter cookie. You don't know if you're just eating it so quickly, you can't even pay attention. So, yeah, I mean, I think it all comes back to like a theme of mindfulness, as far as I can tell. And whenever we just pay attention to what we really want, it'll become very clear that most of what's out there, we don't even really like. I mean, there's so much stuff. Like when I walk into a grocery store, I'm like, I don't even like those Panettone cakes. I just don't like them. I think I've had them before, but they're not my thing. Other people, they love them, and that's totally great. But there's so much stuff at Christmas that is just at us. But how much of it do you truly love? I don't know. I mean, who's to say? And even of the things you do love, your hunger will not be the same, even if all of them are prepared perfectly.
Yep.
So.
Thank you so much for talking with me today, Erin. If people want to get in touch with you, give me a place where they can go and they can find your book on Amazon.com. It's Why Can't I Stick to My Diet by Erin Boardman Wathen,
Yes.
Wathen. And do you have a website or an email address that they can talk to you at?
Sure. My website is EW Wellness Solutions, and I'd love to hear from them.
So that's like got 3 S's in a row, right?
Yeah, it's a real tricky one.
2 W's, 3 S's.
2 W's, 3 S's.
And I just put that right out there.
Wow, look at you. Perfect.
And if you go to her website, I'm sure you can find out lots more about what she's doing. If you have questions for me, the Menopause Guru, if your issue is all around menopause, please let me know. I do a lot with diet. I work with people like Erin to get people on the right track, on the right eating plan for them. And it's not all about weight loss. It's not all about deprivation. It's about being our healthiest self at a time in our lives where our bodies are crying out to be taken care of. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'm sorry we were a little late starting tonight, but we'll see you again on Monday afternoon, 3:30 Central Time, where I have another special guest whose name I can't remember right now. But thanks again, Erin. I hope you have a lovely stay at Chopra Center and learn lots and come back with all refreshed and ready to go.
Well,
for
thank
the
you so
rest
much.
of the.
Have a good night.
You too. And we should be off.